Avrami? Are we recording? Ready to go? Yeah, I see it says recording. Very good. All right. We're on Daf Tesvav Amud Aleph. 2 lines from the top. Mesachas Shabbos. Gufa. So, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel Yudches Gozru Yudches Nechlaku. So it says 18 cases. They were geyser. No, they made a decree when they argued of Yudches Nechlaku. And there were 18 cases where they argued. What do you mean? I thought you said that we saw earlier that they agreed. In other words, these 18 cases, basically, they agreed. So Gemara says, so he says, no. So he says, no. In other words, what happens was in the beginning, these 18 cases that we were in the middle of discussing what the 18 were, that originally there was a machlokes, and afterwards, the next day, then Beis Hillel basically agreed with Beis Shammai, and therefore everybody was geyser together. Good morning, Alan. We just started. We're now 4 lines from the top on Tesvav Amud Aleph. Gufa. Abba Rav Huna, we said earlier, Begimel Mekaymas Nechlu Shammai v'Hillel. In 3 cases, Shammai and Hillel. Now remember we said Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai had many machlokes, right over. Rashi quoted over 300 cases they argued, but Hillel and Shammai only argued in 3 cases, right? So what was it? Hillel and Shammai. So what was the case? So begin with Makamas Nechlu Shammai v'Hillel. Shammai Omer. So now what was the case number 1? So Shammai Omer Mekav Chala v'Hillel Omer Mekavayim. So how much do you need to go ahead and have dough in order to be mafresh chala? So according to Shammai, you need 1 kav. 1 kav. Kav is a measure of eggs. There's actually a chart, actually a good chart. If those of you have the art scroll, right? If you see a kav on the next, if you just turn over the next page to 1582, there's a good chart there. So a kav is 24 beitzim, right? 24 eggs, and right, which is 4 lu. So that is the opinion of Shammai, says 1 kav, and Hillel says 2 kavayim, and this is learned out from the amount of man that was given to Bnei Yisrael when they're in the Midbar. And so over there, they that is where the machlokes was, whether from 1 serving or 2. And over there, when they had it, we'll soon explain. It was a sirus eifa. It was a 10th of an eifa, right? And it was much larger. So a 10th of an eifa. If you go to that chart, right, you'll see that there's 432. There's 432 kav, right? Which is basically which would be 4, which and 1/10 of that would be 43.2. So that was the amount. We'll soon see why it differs from the exact amount, but they learn it traces back to that time. And Chachamim say no, it's not a kav or kavayim. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay. Before this, we were discussing 18 cases.
Correct.
But now there are 3 more,
right?
And they don't seem to have anything to do
correct.
with
Correct. So exactly. So as I mentioned many times, the Gemara seems to be very ADD, right? So the Gemara brings in 1 point, and then all of a sudden it goes off on that point. So we touched on the fact that Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai has many machlokes, and 18 cases they were geyser, which is the case of the previous Mishnah.
Right.
We were in the middle of discussing what are those 18. So that was Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai. This, right, we're quoting Hillel and Shammai. Hillel and Shammai should not be confused with Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai. So these are the 3 machlokes between Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai. So these are just right.
Now we're on
Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai. This is just Hillel and Shammai. Right.
This is just Hillel and Shammai.
So now, so in the case of the challah, one says a kav, and the other one says kavayim, 2 kav. Right? Rather, it's a kav mechza, because they hold kav mechza is different, because what happened was, as we pointed out before, that the shear was learned from the amount that they got in the midbar. So a sirus eifa would be 43.2 eggs, right? So 43.2, right? Bates. Now, but however, the shear that changed since the midbarios, it grew by a 5th. So therefore, since the shear changed, so therefore, because 1.5 according to the Chachamim is 36 kibetzim, but if you multiply that out, that comes out to the 43 to the amount that was by the midbar, and therefore the Chachamim say 1.5. However, even on top of that, Hamidos, and even after that, later on, when not just the Midbarios changed the Yushalmis, but there was another one in what's it called? When they changed the shear another time, right? When they changed the shear Midas Tzipuri, right? So that we should Amru, they said it's no longer 1.5. Amru Chamisha Ravim. It was five Ravim, right? Which is basically a reva is a quarter, right? A quarter of a kav, which is a lug, right? It was 5 lugim, and not the amount before, which we said was basically a kav and a half, which was 6. Kemach chayav mechala. And Rabbi Yossi Omer chamisha paichim chamisha v'yoid chayav. No, if it's exactly 5, then you're still pater. But if it's 5 and change, then it's a large enough piece of dough. In order to a person is mafish challah, then he bechayiv to go ahead and then take challah from there. So that was machlokes number 1 between Hillel and Shammai. Number 2, Rabbi Yossi, the idach Hillel Omer malehin mayim shuvim paislin. So Hillel says if it's a full amount of mayim shuvim. Now, if you have a mikvah which is not 40 saw yet, and you add in there drawn water, right? It's not the water that's needed for the mikvah, rather it's drawn water. It's not natural water. So we say over there, it has to be a hin, right? A hin is the amount of what's called, I think it's 12 lugan, which is 3 kav. So that was Hillel. Mayim shuvim passes a mikvah which is less than 40 saw as a mikvah. Shechayv adam, and why do you say it in lashon of hin? Why do you use the normal lashon of kav, right, or lugin? So it's because he holds that shechayv adam loymar b'lashon rabba. So that was the lashon of his Rebbe taught. So therefore he used the lashon of hin. And Shammai yomer tisha kav, and doesn't say no, not 12 kav, rather only 9 kav. 9 kav will go ahead and passel the mikvah. Say no, not like this one. Ad shabo beis gadoy mi sharash. But until till the vote came from it was the 2 members. I guess 2 workers who used to go ahead and they worked by Shara Ashba, right, by Yerushalayim, by Shara Ashba in Yerushalayim. Ve'idu mishum Shammai ve'Avtalia, and they testified and said, no, Shammai ve'Avtalia sheshleish lugin mayim shuvin paisnas amiko. No, you both are wrong. There's rather only 3 lugin of drawn water is the amount that passes a mikvah. And then everyone basically went according to this opinion that 3 kavin, either 3 lug, does passel a mikvah of mayim shuvin. And what was the third machlokes between Hillel and Shammai? So Shammai, so those of you guys remember from Maseches Nido, we had a machlokes. A woman sees. Now, do you go back in time? Do you say, oh, a woman just realized that she was bleeding, right? She sees, right? So does she go back in time and she just found a stain? So does she go back and say, okay, it goes from the last time that I did a bedika and I was tahor? Or do you say maybe from this point on that she is tamid because she only knows now? So Shammai Omer Kol Nashim Da'at Shazon. So Shammai says, no, from here on out, and I was right now, she realized she did a bedika and she saw that she was bleeding. So therefore only anything that she touches in the future will become tummy. The Hillel Omer Pekida says, no, goes from the last time we are checking, or the last time that she did a check. So if she checked 5 hours ago, then she's tummy for anything she touched in the last 5 hours. If she touched 3 days ago, then anything she touched in the last 3 days would be tummy. So that's how he holds. The afili yamim harbe, and even many days. Chachamim say no. Loy k'dirizev, ella me'es le'es mimayit aide. Pekida says no, not like this, not like Hillel and Shammai, not complete. Either you go completely back lemafreya, or right only you go in the future. Rather, it's 2 different things. If your last inspection was over 24 hours ago, then you only go back to the last 24 hours. So even if she did her last bedika 3 days ago and she was tahor then, we don't say she's tamei since that moment. Rather, it's only the last 24 hours. We'll say that's when she became tameya. Or let's say she did her last bedika. Let's say she did her last bedika 5 hours ago. So you don't say you go back 24 hours and say anything she touched in the last 24 hours, she's tameya. But rather we say that no, since the last bedika was 5 hours ago, anything, so the moment after that is when she began bleeding, and therefore anything she touched since then should be tameya. So those are the 3 machlokes between Hillel and Shammai. So the Gemara asks, the suleka, and there are no more machlokes between Hillel and Shammai. Vayika, Hillel omer lismach, v'Shammai omer shelo lismach. We have a case of smichas on the animal. It's a machlokes when you, in terms of on Yontif, right? Normally you don't lead an animal, so Gzeira, a person might come ride an animal. So do we go ahead and if you bring a karbanos on Yontif, go ahead and do smicha? So it's machloikas. So Hillel says lismach, you do smicha, and Shammai says you don't. So Gemara says no. So why is this not included in machloikas of Hillel and Shammai? So Kikam Rav Huna heichet lechapluksa derabusa bahadya. This is only machloikas where there are not others that are arguing with them. But since this case of doing smicha on an animal on a korban, right? Because you're supposed to lean on the animal, right? When you say over in terms of your testimony or whatever for the purposes of bringing your animal, right? So since that is a machlokas by others, so therefore it's not included in this machlokas between a number of machlokas between Hill and Shammai. So Gemara says, what about a case of a person is harvesting grapes, and when a person is harvesting grapes, so there are grapes that open up, that juice comes out. Now, in order for, as we discussed in the past, for food to become tamei, it has to be moistened. I know some people don't like that word. It has to be wet, right, by other liquids, right, by some of the liquids that make something mekabel tuma, right, hechsher tuma, right. I don't think coffee is one of them, right, but yeah. So we say in such a case that. So according to, if some of the juice itself gets on the other grapes, right? So Shammai says huksher, since grape juice is one, right? Fruit juice is one of those juices included, and it got the grapes wet. So therefore, those already huksher tumor. If they come in contact with something that's tummy, they become tameya. The Hillel huksher. And Hillel says not huksher. Why is that? Because it's only things that a person wants. Since he actually does not want the juice to come out because he wants the juices to be used in the grapes when they're crushed for the purposes of making wine, right? So therefore, it does not make a huksha tuma. So Gemara says no. Bar minei dahayi hasam kashasik le Hillel l'shammai. Says no, we don't include that because afterwards, after they each revealed their svaras, Hillel actually ended up agreeing with Shammai. So since Hillel actually ended up agreeing with Shammai, it's not included in the cases of the machlokes between Hillel and Shammai, and it remains at 3. Fine. 2 dots. Yaisi ben Yoezer ish tzreida v'Yaisi ben Yochanan ish Yerushalayim goes with 2 mile arts. Amin ve'al klizuchis. So of course, the Gemara cannot get back to the 18 cases that we've been discussing.
My understanding of being Hochsher L'Kabel Tuma is that you have to, you actually do have to have the das that you want it to become wet.
Right, so that was why
Hillel was liquid on it.
That's why it says
why are we saying now that Hillel was moda to?
It was originally machlokas between Hillel and Shammai, and then the reason why it's not included is because Hillel agreed with Shammai afterwards. He said, "You're right. Since he doesn't, that's not right." So over there, 1 second. Let me see if maybe it was opposite. 1 second. Hillel,
but that's not the way we rule.
Oh, he says huksher, right? So he says huksher over there. Yeah, I'll tell you 1 second. So he says no, it's a gzeira because the other cases where it might come, what's it called? Where it might come get wet in other cases, and therefore people will not realize. So since, right, it's a gzeira in that case. Really, you're right. But Be'etzim, they did it for other cases as a gzeira. So therefore, Hillel agreed to Shammai, and since Hillel agreed to Shammai, it's not considered to be a machlokas. Okay, but you're right. Really, if the guy doesn't have his intentions, he's right. But in this case, it was a gzeira, as Rashi points out. So now, once again, so going back, so the Gemara does not go back to the 18 cases, right? The Gemara still mentions something that that he mentioned in passing, and now the Gemara wants to discuss something that we mentioned in passing, right? So we mentioned over there that there were different gzeiras. One of the gzeiras were by the 2 Yosis, Yosi ben Yoezer, Yisreda, and Yosi ben Yochanan. So they were gezer 2 things. They're Tuma and Eretz Amim, they're Tuma and lands outside Eretz Yisrael, and they're also geyser glass that it's considered to be a kli, and those things can become tummy. Now, v'horabanan d'shmonim shana geyser. What do you mean? Did Yosef ben Yoezer and Yisrael and Yosef ben Yochanan, were they the ones that geyser the Eretz Amim? It was the rabbanan of 80 years. What do you mean? What are we talking 80 years? 80 years prior. What do you mean 80 years prior? Let's see. When Rabbi Shmuel ben Rav Yaisi, when Rabbi Shmuel ben Rav Yaisi became sick, they sent to him a message. Rabbi Omer lanu beis u'gimel dvarim shamarta lanu b'shmei avicha. Right? Go, please report to us some things. I know you're sick. Maybe some things that we'll lose them. Sorry if you don't tell us. Tell us 2 or 3 things that you heard from your father. So Shalach Lam, he said to them, Kach Lamar Abba. This is what I said. Kuf Pei Shana Anshli Charav Habayis Pashto Malchus Harosh Al Yisrael. 180 years prior to the destruction of the Second Temple, right? The Roman Empire, right? Basically, they began ruling upon Israel. So that was 180s. And Pei Shana, 80 years prior to destruction, Anshlecha Rabayis, Gozru Tuma al Eretz Ha'amim, they were geyser two things: Tuma on the land of Israel, right, and Tuma on the land outside of Israel, Eretz Amim, and on glass, right? So over here we see, good morning, Yigal, right? So we see over here that it says that it wasn't Yaisi ben Yezer and Yaisi ben Yochanan were geyser Tumal Eretz Amim. We see it was the Rabbanan from 80 years prior to destruction. We'll soon explain. And Arbin mentioned Arbin Shalosh Chavayis goes to Sanhedrin 4 years prior to the destruction of the temple. The Sanhedrin was exiled from the Lishchos Gazis. The Yashula Bechanuyos, and they used to sit over there, still in Harabayis, but not in the normal office. They sat in other offices outside there. So Lamai Hilchos. So what's the nafkamina where they sat? So Rabbi Yitzchak Bravdimi Loimashla Donu Dinei Knasos. They did not rule Dinei Knasos, right? They did not rule cases of Knas, right? They did not rule the case of Knas because the case of Knas is something that was not done. It was not like Dinei Mamos. Dinei Knas is something where a person pays for more of the damage. For instance, a person Gazlan, right, or excuse me, a Ganav pays Kefil, pays double. Other cases of Dinei Knasos. So Dinei Knasos were not judged. So when it says Dinei Knasos, I said, what? You can't judge Dinei Knasos. You need the Sanhedrin and Lishos Agazis. So no, Ema Shaloi Dono Dinei Nefashos. Rather, there was no capital murder cases, right? Capital cases judged once 40 years prior to the destruction of the temple, because those can only be done when Sanhedrin is in its proper place. Now, so going back to the question, so who says Yaisi ben Ezer and Yaisi ben Yechanan were the ones who were geyser on Al Eretz Amim and Al Klizuchis? So it says over here 80 years prior to destruction. So maybe it's the same thing. Maybe the two Yaisis were the ones who were 80 years prior to the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, and it's just calling them a different name. But you can't say that. We're going to say Hillel, the Shimon, the Gamliel, the Shimon. So there were 4 different generations: Hillel and his son Shimon, and Gamliel, and then Shimon. Nogu Nisyosan Habayis Meya Shana. All right, they were basically the last 100 years. They were the Nasim of prior to the destruction of the temple. So the last 100 years was Hillel and family. Right. Ve'ilu Yaisi ben Yezer and Yisrael. Yaisi ben Yochanan Havi Kadnu Tuba. But the two Yaisi ben Yezer, Yisrael and Yaisi ben Yochanan were many years earlier, many generations earlier. So you can't say it was them. They were previous, they were prior. So in other words, there was some sort of gzera first, and then there was a gzera of the 80 years. So Ella, turn the page. Also, Inu Gazer Agusha Lisra. So maybe it's like this. Maybe they were the ones, Yaisi ben Yezer and Yaisi ben Yochanan were the ones who were geyser. They said, okay, any clump of earth, right, Agusha, right, a clump of earth that came from Eretz Amim, Lisa, if that came in contact with truma, perhaps there was some sort of mace that was mixed up within within that clump of earth, and therefore it's tamei. And if it came in contact with truma, we go ahead and do strafe and we burn it. However, and maybe if one traveled there, it's we would not be geyser. Now, it's just because you're in the airspace, even let's say you're on a wagon or something, right? A wagon sometimes we mile over, right? But if you're in the airspace of Eretz Amim, right? And so perhaps that they weren't geyser in that case. The Asur Rabbanan, and the Rabbanan came, the Pei Shana, then the Rabbanan came of the 80 years prior to the destruction. And Gazer Avira, and Litlois. And maybe they were geyser, and they made their own gzera. It doesn't mean they made a gzera in Eretz Amim. Maybe they made a gzera on the airspace of Eretz Amim, then Litlos, and it remains that Truman Safek. In other words, we don't go ahead necessarily burn it because it's not Vadai Tameh, but you go over here and you leave it as a Safek. So the Gemara says, "Lameir the Chadik Zerasa." Are you telling me that the clump of earth was a gzera to go ahead and burn it right away? Ba'amar Ilfa says, "Yadayim tchilasam gzerasan lisreva." When it comes to hands, the initial takana was by hands, as gzera was l'sreifa. That was to burn. It was for sreifa.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. We're talking about a gzera of tuma.
Yes.
But goyim, unless it's the mace itself, is not matame, not the place where they're buried.
Right. So this would be the Jewish.
Unless it's a Jewish person.
Yeah, the Safek is Jewish people out in Eretz Amim.
Well, that's why they made
Right,
the
right, because
decision.
there were people during that time already that were outside of Eretz Yisrael, and they weren't careful outside Eretz Yisrael like they were careful in Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, bodies
To
could have been
mark the
buried in different
graves.
places and unknown, and therefore you could have tuma or bones.
So
in
we're
places
not talking about the graves of Goyim.
correct Jews, right? So Gemara says, so it was the initial gzera to burn. We only see that the initial gzera by hands, by yadayim were to burn, right? So he says, yadayim who did chilas gzera l'srafa, hamidachrini lo. So it sounds like only hands the original takana was for burning, but any other things would not be, right? Lo. So ella asinu gazer agusha litlois v'avira v'lei klum. Maybe it was the two Yossi's, the original one. They made a gzera al gusha litlos. If it was a clumper that came in contact to go ahead to came in contact with truma, then it's litlos and va'avira v'lei klum. And then, however, if it was the air, it was nothing. If asr rabbanon, then came the rabbanon of shmonim shana and gazer gusha lisov. Then they made the second takana on it, which was the takana of to go ahead if a clump of earth touched truma, then to burn it, right? Gusha lisov, v'avira litlos, and then if it came in the airspace, it was litlos. So Gemara says no. The akati, they pulled out another trick. The akati, but by the way, Randy, Eddie is the featured video. I don't know if that was intention or not. At least on mine. I don't know if others are, but I guess not. All right. Anyway, so va'asi, so Gemara says v'akasi be'usha gazer, and it says I still. Was it Yaisi, the two Yaisis? Was it the Rabban of Shmonim Shana? But we have another Masar, we have another Bryce that says that in Usha, right, years later, they were Goyser. They were the ones, after the Churban, they were the ones who made the Gzera. The Tanakh on the Mishnah, Al Vav Sveikos, Servant Sashuma. And 6 cases of Sveikos, we go ahead and we burn Truma. What are the 6 cases? Al Savik Beis Pras. Is a suffix of truma. They went to base of pras, right? The base of pras is basically a field with the body, or was buried there, was unknown as to where the body was, and therefore perhaps it could have come in contact. It could have gone over the mile over this mace, or aval suffix ofar habam eretz amim, or if it was the suffix that came from some earth that came from Eretz Avim, the Asavi be the Amaretz, or the clothing Amaretz, right? Perhaps the Amaretz was a Zav, and it came in contact with the Truma, the Asavi Kalim Hanimson, Al-Savi Arokin, or Savi Kalim that were found, right? Or in other words, it came in contact with the Kalim. We don't know if the Kalim was found, if it was bad, if it was Amaretz and it was Tameh or not. The Asavi Arokin, or any sort of spittle that's found that came in, perhaps it came from a Zav. The Asavi Meraglaim, Odom, Shekaneged Meraglaim, Behema, or even urine, right? Meraglaim, those found by the urine of known animal. Perhaps a person could have gone to the bathroom next to where an animal went to the bathroom, and therefore all these cases are Sveikim. Alvadai Magon, on all these cases, if it comes in contact with it, right? Suffix Tumasan, even though despite the fact it's a suffix, Sarfin is a Truma. We go ahead and we burn the Truma of all these cases. Rabbi Yosef says, no, not all cases. Afal suffix Magan, Rushus Yachid Sarfin. Even of cases of, right, cases, afal suffix, even if it's...
We never burn truma for a suffix.
So over here...
We're saying that for these cases of suffix, we do burn?
Right, so this is the case over here, right? We don't know if they're Tameh. I'm just looking for the top. Right, so that was a Gzera they said to go ahead and burn, right? All these cases, we do go ahead and we destroy it, right? That was a takana that was done in Usha in order to avoid all these cases. So it says Rabbi Yossi, and suffix magan rishus yachid. Even though, right, even on a suffix, if we touch it in rishus yachid, we burn it, right? In other words, in rishus yachid, that which is something normally is tameh. So he says, even if it was a suffix of a touch in rishus yachid, we go ahead and we burn it. No, rishus yachid toilet. If it's a case of rishus yachid, we tell them rishus rabbim tired. If it's a suffix, we touch it. If it's just a yachid, we don't go ahead and burn it like Rabbi Yosef said, but rather we say it's a suffix and we don't burn it. And if it's a rabbin, if it's a suffix, which is a rabbin, then we go ahead and say it's tar. We consider it tar because we know that there's a rule that a suffix, a tuma, b'shus rabbin is tar, and suffix just yachid is tamei. V'amar ulan, get to our point. Elu vav sveikos b'usha iskinu. These are the 6 fekos and usha that they were masakin. So we see over there that the number 2 was afar haba me'eretz amim. So they made a decree on dirt that came from Eretz Amim. So what are you talking about? Afar that came from Eretz Amim is considered to be something that was xera, either from the 2 Yosis or from the Rabbanon of Shmonim Shana. We see that it was usha years later. It was masakin. So Ella rather like this. Asuinu gazer agusha. The original, the 2 Yosis, they made xera. Agusha litlos. If it truma that came in contact with a clump of earth from Eretz Amim, litlos, it's suffix. Va'avira v'lei klum. And then, but however, if it was just some truma in the airspace, it's nothing. It's not. It's fine. But also Rabbanan Shmonim Shana. Then the Rabbanan Shmonim Shana came and goes, "Edi v'edi litlos." I said, no, both cases, not only the gusha litlos, but even avira litlos. The Yasav Usha, then they came at Usha and Gazer, Agusha, Lisa, they said, no, if it came a clump of earth, then you burn it. Va'avira k'dekai kai. But Va'avira will leave as it is and will say that it is a suffix. Fine. 2 dots.
What about Klis Chufis? Everything in this Gemara was just about.
Yeah. So right now, right now, Klis Chufis.
Rectifying the.
Yeah. So who did it? You're saying?
Yeah.
Rectify this. So Gemara does not discuss that. So the Gemara discussed something about by Klis Chufis. So a question was asked. So we just had a discrepancy in terms of who did the takana. So maybe we'll say that over there. So maybe we'll say the same thing. We'll discuss after. Let's say. So let's say kli zuchuchis. Now, so let's go on kli zuchuchis. So what about a glassware? So my time it goes to Rabbanan. What's the reason why the Rabbanan were geyser? So my time it goes to Rabbanan tuma. So Rav Yochanan Amar Reish Lakish Hoyav Tchilasam Briyasim Minachol. Why over there is glass considered to be were they geyser and it should become tamei, right? It's not listed. So it says no, since right it comes from the sand. Shavina Rabbanan kli cheres. It's considered like a kli cheres. So glass is like a kli cheres when it comes to tuma, right? Earthenware, right, has certain traits of tuma. So therefore, glass is like it. So the Gemara says elmiat, according to what you're saying, loy teila and tara b'mikvah. Now, one of the rules of by earthenware vessels is if it comes tama, you can't go ahead and just put it in the mikvah and then say it's tower, right? You have to go ahead and break it. It's done, right? Once it comes tama, there's no way to retire it. So if we're saying glass is just like earthenware because glass comes from sand, which comes from the ground, which is earthenware, right? Earthenware comes from the ground. So it should have the same halacha like earthenware. It should not be able to be tar b'mikvah. So Lama Tanai, why do we learn in the Mishnahs? These are things that are considered a chatzitza, is considered to be a what's it called? A separation in the mikvah. In other words, if it's attached to a mikvah, the tefillah is not good. So veilu chaytzim b'kelim has zefes v'amur. It says over there, right, tar, right, and other sticky substances, right, on the kliz on a glassware. It passes it for the mikvah. It says the mikvah is no good. But what do you see over there? You see that glass can go in the mikvah. It's not like kliz. It's not like klicheres. So Hakamayaskina could go in Shenikva, the Haiti was Seichan Eva. We're talking about a case of a glassware that perhaps there was a hole in the glassware and they fixed it by basically pouring hot lead into it. And since you pour hot lead into it, it takes on the characteristics of the lead. Lead is something that, like klimatechas, you can go ahead and put in the mikvah. So too, a glassware that had a hole in it and was fixed with lead could be fixed in there. And Rameir, it's a bit Rameir. Everything goes after that which fixes the that which fixes that which was had a hole in it. The tiny learner Bryce says, if you have a glassware vessel that had a hole in it, then you go ahead and you pour in it hot molten lead, and then it fixes the glass, right? Fixes the hole. So it says Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, what's machlekes? Rameir says it's metame. Rameir says it's metame. Why he says it's considered to be still considered to be a kli because the lead is fixed, and Chaim say it's tar. Chaim say it's tar, and therefore it's considered like it's glass, and the glass is broken, like the klicheres, and it does not take on its attributes. So Gemara says elamiata, but according to what you're saying, if glass is like klicheres elamiata, lo yitami migaban. you should not be able to go ahead and be metame it from the outside. Now, there's another difference between kalim, right? When it comes to kalim, between kli cheres and kli matechas. So you have a rule at kli cheres only if it comes in contact within the inside or in the airspace in the inside. But if it touches the back side of it, right? It touches the back side of the cup, then it would not be right. If it touches the back side of the cup, then it would not be something that would not become tummy. So if that's the case, glass, if it's considered like kli cheres, it should not become tummy, like megaman on the outside. Why do we learn kli cheres, kli neser, if you have a earthenware vessel or a kli neser, right? Also something which is, what's it called? A natural substance, right? So we say over there, tumas and shava, both their tummies are equal. Mitami and mitami aviran, both of them become tummy from their airspace. Umitama machareyan, and they also become tame on the outside, right? What does that mean on the outside? In other words, we don't have a becher there, right? So some cases over there, right? Some cases over there. See, Eddie's trying to talk, but I don't know if he's trying to get through. Oh yeah, you bring it to me. Ah, perfect. So we see over here. So we have. I don't know if you guys can see. Maybe I can feature myself here. Anyway, so we say over here.
You're featured. Everyone can see you.
Oh, okay, fine. So, very good. 1 second here. So, all right. I don't know how you. Fine. So we see over here in this case, there's two parts. This is the main part of the kli, right? The main part of the kli is the inside here, but the gaban is on the backside. But what we're talking about over here, actually, there was water in here. All right. So we say over here that which we say macharehan, the backside is actually referring to inside here, right? Inside here, there's actually something. If you have it upside down, right, you can hold something in here. So this is similar to this. That if it goes in there, it can be matame. If there's tuma that comes in contact with it with inside, it would be matame. However, right, the a matame gaman, but it's not matame if it just comes in contact with the outside, right? The a matame gaman who's straight fasa matarasan. And you go ahead and if you break it, excuse me, not straight, shvirasa, right? And breaking it is matarit, right? So we say over there, so only these things, so kli neser, kli cheres, who to the master Shabbat. So it's only by a kli neser and a kli cheres. Only these types of materials are considered to be, right, like a kli cheres, right? And this natron, whatever, this natural substance, also those things can become tame on the inside or even on the underneath it, right? Those vessel areas that can contain something are matame, but not the outside. And the only way to be matarit is to break it. So it is dafka kli neser, kli cheres, tumas and shava. About media achrini lo. But any other substance, i.e., glass, is not like it. So what do you mean? We see glass is not just like earthenware. So it says, no. Now, there's an aspect of glass that is like metals. That since you can go ahead and break down glass and rebuild it, right? We rebuild it. So therefore, it's just like metal in an aspect. And since it's like metal in that aspect, so therefore, it's in certain halachas, it's like a klimatechas. Why do I say this? There's another halacha by metal, right? Another halacha by metal is like this. If you have a metal keli, and it comes tame, and you break it up, you create let's say make a hole in it larger than a pomegranate, it's now no longer kli, it can't hold anything. So therefore, it's tahor, okay? Once you fix it again, there's a takana, it's called tuma yashana. It goes back to averts to its original tuma. It's tameh again. You don't just say, oh, it's like a new vessel because we fixed it, and therefore, right, it's tahor. No, it goes back to tumas yashana. So if that's the case, glass is like metals. We should say the same thing. Halach there. Just like klimatechas. It's now we learn a mishnah. Klimatechas pshuteyam nekableyan to tamein. If they're flat or if they're makabel, if they're able to hold things, tamein, then they're tamei. Nishbaru, right? But however, once it goes ahead and breaks, right? If they break it down, then it's tara. Then it's tara. And chazar v'yasaman kelim, if you go ahead and you fix it up, you make it into a keli again, chazar l'tumasa yishana. It goes back to its original tuma. V'ilu gavi kli zruchis, but when it comes to glassware vessels, tonight we're going to mishnah kli eitz, the kli or kli etzev, kli zruchis, any vessel which is made up from wood, right, or hide, right, or bone, or glass. If they're flat, right, if it's flat, it's not a cave, it's just flat, then it's tahor, it doesn't become tameh. If they're mekableya, and if it can hold things, it's a vessel, then it's tameh. Nishbaru, if it breaks, taharu. Chazer v'yasamem kelim, if you go ahead and make it again to kelim, mekablin tuma mekan lahaba. It only becomes tameh in the future, but it's not when it restarts. It's not tameh again from the original tuma. So we see dafka only in the future become tameh, but not retroactively. So if it doesn't go back retroactively, it's not like metal. So what do you mean glass is like metal? We see when it comes to this this attribute is different. So Gemara says no. Tumas kelis ruchis derabanan. Really, the tuma by glass vessel is derabanan. But tuma yishana derabanan, and the halakha of something being retroactively tameh is only midirabanan. So but tuma deraisa achisa b'rabanan, but tuma derabanan lo echis le'rabanan. When it comes to going ahead and applying being tameh l'mafreya, we only go ahead and do things that are deraisa. So deraisa is things that are metal. So metal things we can say, if you go ahead and fix it up after you make it into a kli again, we say over there that it goes back retroactively, and therefore it's still tameh. But since glass itself is only tuma derabanan, therefore we're not going to go ahead and apply it tuma yishana to something that's only derabanan. Fine. So tuma pshuteyan. So he says miha li tameh. But in that case itself, so we say any part that's flat should never must be derabanan. The hap shutei kli matechas deraisa ninu. Because if the flat part of metal is deraisa, so why don't we say that one step over that the flat part of glass is also, it should be tameh because that's going for deraisa. So Gemara answers no of the rabbanan hekera. No, the Gemara wanted to make a difference that people should not think that if the glass was similar in all cases to metal, people would think it's the same case, and therefore, let's say comes in contact with truma, you go ahead and burn it. So the Rabbanan want to make a difference between metal and glass. Of the Rabbanan hekera ki hechidolisa alayu truma the kachim. No, they wanted to make a difference between it that people will not go ahead and burn truma or kachim if it comes in contact with truma the Rabbanan, only if it comes in contact with metal and not with glass. And Rav Ashi Amar Liyolam Kli Cheres Dama. Really, it's like Kli Cheres. You asked over there, okay, if it's just like Kli Cheres, so why should it be mitame on the backside? So since over there you can see it through it, so like that, the outside is like the inside because you can see through it. It's see-through. So since it's see-through, so it comes in contact with the outside. It's like it comes in contact with the inside, and therefore we'll say it is considered to be tummy. Now. Shima mentioned. So now going back, still we're not back to our list of 18 yet. We still have some little unfinished business of different lines from brises. So Shim ben Shazach tikan ksuba leisha the gazer tuma kli matefas. So Shim ben Shazach was masakin ksuba for a woman. In other words, they were masakin in terms of the pricey amount of ksuba that a woman should not be so easy to go ahead and divorce. The geyser, and there's also geyser tumal klimatefas, and also the geyser that metal vessels are tummy. So Gemara says klimatefas deraisa needed. What do you mean it's deraisa? The pasuk says achas hazavis akes v'chulei. It says gold and silver and other metallics are matame. So what do you mean it's derabanan? It's deraisa. He says no. We're talking about tuma yishana, as we just mentioned. Tuma yishana, anything that if you had something that was tame and you break it down. Right, it's no longer kli, and then you rebuild it. Its tuma goes back to the way it was. You didn't get rid of your issue. So one time Mishal Tzina Malka, during the time of the Chashmonaim, she made a mishteh for her son, Lebanon, for her son. The nitmu kol kela, and all the kalim became tameh, the shivrasan, and they broke him. The nasna letzaref v'ritzchan, and they made him back into the kalim that they were before. So they broke them all down. And they made it back until they were the awesome hand kilin chadashim. They made for them new kalim. And they said, "Chachamim yachzur l'tumas yishana." Right, you've gone back to your original status of being tummy. You didn't go ahead and fix the problem of just breaking them and rebuilding it. Rather, you have to go ahead and be taivel and purify them. My time. What's the reason? Mishum gather mechatas nagu ba. So the first says, what's the reason? Because the gather mechatas. Now, if you have a keli that came in contact with a dead body. So we don't say just go ahead and go to the mikvah and then it's ready afterwards. Rather, we say that you actually need the paraduma, right? You need the upper paraduma to go ahead and purify. You need the 7-day process just like we have by a person. So you need the 7-day process. So they worried if you can go ahead and break it down and then just rebuild it as tahor. So people will no longer use the paraduma for when it comes to kalim. They would just basically avoid, right? This, they would avoid the entire 7-day process by doing the shortcut, by doing this little trick, and therefore people would forget it. So Gemara says, okay. This if you say that which we say to Mishan only applies to a kalim that comes in contact with dead bodies, it works fine. But according to the opinion who holds that there are times where kalim come tummy and not tummy from contact with a dead body. Let's say it comes in contact with zav or something like that, right? And all you need to do is tovel it and it's good afterwards. So Michael and Maimar, we're not over there. You're not trying to avoid 7 days, right? Over there, right? And saying Michael and Maimar. So one opinion is that no, perhaps they won't make the hole big enough. People will think it has to be a hole of a pomegranate. They'll make a small hole. They'll say, oh, the kli is broken. I'll fix it. Now it's all good. So perhaps they won't make a good hole, and therefore they really never got rid of the tumah. And like and Rabba Amar Gezerah Shema Yomro Tvila Bas Yoma Oila Lo. And others will say that no, that Tvila, right, is good during its day. Now there's certain times by a person that when he goes to the mikvah, right? So it will be good, right? You have to wait that day. We don't need Herav Shemesh, right? You don't need for the sun to set. Right, and people will know that people will confuse. They'll see that a person is they go ahead and they dip something in mikvah. They have to wait till the evening. So if they see someone break it down that day and rebuild it the same day, and they don't wait for Herav Shemesh, people will not realize that if you use the mikvah, you have to wait till the sun comes down. So I see them. The person, he used his mikvah the same day became tamei. So they won't realize that if you go ahead and use the mikvah, you need to wait till the sun goes down. But if you go ahead and you rebuild it, then it's tahor immediately. So therefore, in order to avoid that, we say, you know what? If you go ahead and break it down and rebuild it, it's still tamei. So therefore, it doesn't get you out of that. And therefore, you have to go ahead and bring it to the mikvah. So my benayu, what's the opportunity between the last two zeras of you're not going to make a hole big enough, or people won't realize that you have to wait the entire day. My benayu, ik benayu, the retzvinu martzef, right? So retzvinu tzaref, if you go ahead and you completely flatten it, if you flatten something, it's like you broke it, right? So Rashi brings down two pshatim over here, how we say it. So the second is the Venira Be'enai in Rashi. So he says that in this case, how does it answer the question? So if it's completely flattened, so when it comes to going ahead and people realizing, so people will confuse that with the other case. People will see that it was completely flattened, and therefore they won't confuse that with Harav Shemesh, and therefore they'll know that if it goes to the mikvah, it still has to wait till the night. But in the case of making a hole, it's not shaykh because there is no hole being made in this case because he's completely flattening it, and therefore that the first gzeira wouldn't apply. So therefore that would be the nafkamina between Rava's teretz and Abayi's teretz. Fine, two dots. Now, getting back to, I think we're now getting back to Beis Hill and Beis Shammai of the 18. So Ve'idach Mahi. Okay, so what's another one? So we already listed 9. We listed one Mishnah with 9. We'll have to see if it includes some of the ones that we said from our Mishnah. So Ve'idach Mahi, what are the other ones? So at the time we learned in Mishnah, Hamaniach Kelim Tachas Atzinor. One who goes ahead and leaves a kli, a vessel, right, a bucket or something underneath a tzinor, right, a pipe, right, sort of like a gutter, right, in order to go ahead and catch rain. So now we know in terms of by mikvah, right, we said over here it has to be natural water. It can't be water that one gathered and then you pour it in. So a person leaves a kli, right, to go ahead and capture water. So whether it's large or small, even if it's something that normally is not amaltuma, like made of stone or earth or hardened dung, a person passes the mikvah. This is considered to be ma'im shuvim. Whether one left it there purposely or whether one forgot it was there. Beis Hillel says if he goes in and he forgets that he had it there and it gathered water. So since he did not do it purposely, therefore he would say that water is still tahor. That's considered rainwater. It's not considered ma'im shuvim. And Amar Meir Nibnu v'Rabu Beis Shammai al Beis Hillel. He said no. In that case over there, right? They took a vote. They counted, and Beis Shammai were more than Beis Hillel. right? And therefore they ruled like Beis Hillel. It's one of the cases. And however, so he says, however, Beis Shammai agrees, right? In all the cases agree that if he left it in the middle of the chutzner, he didn't leave it underneath the gutter. Rather, he left it out in the chutzner, and then he left it out there, and he forgot it was out there. Then it rained. Then that's not considered to be ma'im shuvim. It's Torah. And Rabbi Yosi adayin machlekes b'mkoima u'medes. And Rabbi Yosi says, no, this is not considered one of the 18 cases. It's not a case where they nimnu, they decided to go vote, and then they agreed like Beis Shammai. Rather, he says it's still machlekes. Beis Hillel still disagrees with Beis Shammai. And by the way, a side note on that, so it says Mashar to be Rav Amri, they said Hakol Moedim Kshenichem B'Shas Kishur Avam Tameim. Everyone agrees if the clouds darken and he puts it out there, everyone agrees that's Tameim. Everyone agrees it's Tameim because those are his intentions to gather the water. B'Shas Pizar Avon. If he goes ahead and puts the kli there when the clouds are going away, everyone agrees it's Torah, that if somehow it rains right then, that's Torah. The only argument case of when it's starting to darken, V'nis Pazu, and then it clears up. Because of V'nis Kasher, then it goes back and it becomes darkened again. So Marsa Batla Machshava. So one holds that his Machshava was Batal, and therefore, even though his original intentions were because it was getting dark, but once the clouds cleared, then his machshava is batal, is nullified, and therefore will say like he didn't intend it. So that one says no, his original machshava is not batal because it rained again, and Lamaisa he put it there by the first time it came dark and cloudy, and therefore it's considered like intentional. Now we said Rabbi Yosi says Beis Hillel Beis Shammai still argue, they didn't agree. So according to Rabbi Yosi, now we're one short in terms of the count of 18, right? Because he said this case is not included. Rabbi Yosi said Beis Hillel still argues with Beis Shammai. So Batzil, we have to take it away. So Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, af b'nais kusim nidos marisasan b'yom gazer. Says no. The case of b'nais kusim, the daughters of the kusim, they were not careful in terms of going to the mikveh becoming tahara. So therefore, there was a gzeira, right? That the Beis Shammai said that any b'nais kusim, that anything that they touch they were considered to be nidos, and therefore they did the mikveh, and any dough that they touch would be tmeya, and that was considered one of the 18. And I guess according to the other opinions, it was not one of the 18, and therefore Rabbi Yosi now is, I guess even that was the 10th case according to Rabbi Yosi, and we will stop here at the 2 dots. Everyone have a wonderful day, and I guess Randy, you can stop recording.
Does anyone know how to